It's no secret that the DCEU is one of the most dysfunctional cinematic universes we have to date. For the longest of times, they've been trying to play catch up with Marvel when it comes to live action films, and they failed numerous times with questionable films such as Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman 84, and Birds of Prey. Terrible films such as 2016 Suicide Squad and Justice League, and somewhat great films such as 2017 Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam. Amazing films such as Zack Snyder's Justice League and The Suicide Squad. Plus a masterpiece of a film such as Joker, which is a standalone film that isn't connected to the DCEU. As a DC fan myself, I'll be the first to tell you that it's been a hit or miss when it comes to them. The tragic thing is that the DCAU is very successful. They literally have a blueprint on how to go about the live action, but decided to play catch up with Marvel instead of building up their characters from what we fell in love with in the animations. Now, Batman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time alongside Superman, and it's been a decade since we got a standalone Batman film. So when they announced that they will be making a new Batman film that will be focusing more on his detective side, especially in his early years, I was intrigued. With Matt Reeves in the directing chair, my hopes went up as he's written and directed some great films prior. After all the leaked pics, epic trailers, I highly anticipated this film, and at last, on the 4th of March, the film came out, and here's why I believe that The Batman is a thrilling classic. The plot for The Batman simply goes like this. On Halloween night, the mayor of Gotham City is murdered by a terrorist who goes by the name The Riddler, leaving a clue specifically for Batman to decipher. Bruce Wayne, who's in his second year as the Batman, investigates a crime scene with Lieutenant Gordon, who's like the only cop Batman is willing to work with. There's a bit of tension as the police don't yet trust Batman as they view him as a vigilante than an ally, especially Commissioner Pete Savage, who rebuked Gordon for allowing him to be present during the crime scene, but Bruce just doesn't give a fuck. Shortly after, Pete is killed by the Riddler and leaves yet another clue for Batman to decipher, to which they'd have to find the rat. That's a major piece to the puzzle. With clues they've collected, Batman and Gordon find a thumb drive in the mayor's car left by the Riddler, which contains pictures of the mayor with the woman who goes by the name Annika at the Augsburg Lounge, a nightclub operated by the Penguin, who's the lieutenant of mobster Carmine Falcone. Batman fights his way inside of the lounge to confront the Penguin on the whereabouts of Annika. That's where we meet Selina, one of the waitresses, who's familiar with the girl in the photo but keeps it to herself, but Batman notices. He follows Selina home from a distance only to find out that Annika and Selina are roommates and she's gone missing. Batman confronts Selina, who's now dressed up as Catwoman, and there's a showdown in which Batman wins, and they form somewhat of an alliance as they both try to retrieve the same person. Batman inserts contact lenses onto her eyes that are connected to his PC, so whatever she sees, he'll also see. He sends her back to the lounge to search for answers. Through a drunk district attorney, Gil Colson, Batman manages to find out that Commissioner Pete Savage was on Falcone's payroll alongside Gil Colson, meaning that Falcone has ties with the police. When Batman enforces that Selina questioned Falcone, who just so happens to be at their table, to find out who's the rat that Riddler is talking about, she gets up and leaves, cutting communication with Bruce, as Falcone is her father, but Falcone doesn't know, surprisingly. Outside the lounge, the Riddler abducts Gil Colson and straps a timed collar bomb to his neck and sends him to crash the mayor's funeral. At the funeral, Bruce meets up with the new mayor, Bella, as she's discussing the Wayne's history with philanthropy, and here comes Colson crashing the funeral as the Riddler intended, with the police telling him to put his arms in the air as he's a literal ticking time bomb. Everyone evacuates and Batman later arrives and answers the phone, to which the Riddler asks Colson 3 riddles, and if he fails, he won't give him the code to stop the collar bomb from killing him. The Batman helps him answer the first 2 riddles, but Colson refuses to answer the third, as the answer is the rat that Batman is looking for. The bomb goes off, killing him while knocking out Batman. While unconscious, the police question whether they should unmask Batman to see who he truly is. As they're about to take it off, he wakes up and starts throwing hands to whoever is near. Gordon manages to isolate him while the police are eager to arrest him for assault. In the heat of the moment, they both reckon that the rat is the Penguin, and Gordon helps Batman escape the police station with almost every cop firing at him. Batman and Gordon soon discover ties that the infamous Maroni case was transferred to Falcone with a lot of cops involved. With that being said, Catwoman exposes Penguin and crew as she arrives to steal their money. Amidst all the crossfire, she finds Annika's body in a car trunk as Penguin flees the scene, in which there's an intense chase scene as Batman chases the Penguin in his badass Batmobile. When he finally catches up to him, he finds out that he is not the rat they're actually looking for. Batman and Gordon follow the Riddler's new lead to an abandoned orphanage funded by the Wayne family, where the Riddler reveals via projector the dark truth about Bruce's parents. Whilst all of this is being revealed, Alfred back at the Wayne mansion receives a gift from Riddler to Bruce, which turns out to be a ticking time bomb, and Alfred is hospitalized from the explosion. Back at the orphanage, Bruce finds out that his father, who was running for mayor at the time, hired Falcone to kill a journalist that was threatening to reveal Martha's history with mental illness. Bruce later confronts Alfred about this dark revelation, as Bruce believed that his parents were innocent all along. Alfred confirms that Riddler's allegations are true, but believes that Thomas didn't intend on killing the journalist, but rather arresting him when he found out, causing Falcone to kill them down the infamous alley. Catwoman tells Batman that Falcone is his father, but he doesn't know yet. She learns that he's the one who killed Annika, as the assassinated mayor told Annika that Falcone is the rat. With this shocking revelation, Catwoman rushes to kill him. Batman and Gordon now have to prevent her from killing him, because as we know, Batman doesn't believe in killing the bad guys, and that will automatically make you no different from them. In which they do manage to stop her in the nick of time, arresting Falcone instead of killing him. While Falcone has been taken away, the Riddler kills him with the rifle through a rooftop window. Shortly after, the Riddler willingly gets himself caught unmasked as Edward Nashton. They take him to Arkham State Hospital, where Batman pays him a visit. The Riddler rambles on how he was a neglected orphan just like Bruce Wayne, yet since Bruce was a billionaire and everyone adored the Wayne family, they empathized with Bruce's loss and forgot about orphans such as himself. Ever since then, his mission was to reveal the dirty side of the beloved Bruce family for the crooks they were, therefore planning on killing Bruce as he views him as somewhat of a criminal just like his parents. He proposes a partnership to Batman to kill Bruce Wayne, not knowing that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Batman later searches Edward's house only to find out that the Riddler has planted bombs in several cars around Gotham and has a cult following that is planning on killing the current mayor. The bombed cars destroy the floodgates and the whole city is flooded. Inside the arena where the mayor is at lies a shelter where they take cover as Batman arrives to stop the shooters from killing the mayor, but he's outnumbered. Catwoman arrives as well, helping Batman fight off the shooters. In the crossfire, Bruce realizes that vengeance isn't what the city truly needs, as that's what the Riddler is currently going after. Batman leads the mayor and the refugees to safety through the flooded arena. He stopped the Riddler's plan, but the city is still flooded nonetheless. Catwoman proposes that Batman leave Gotham with her, as she views the city as beyond the state of being saved. Bruce chooses to stay, and instead of being vengeance, he plans on being the beacon of hope for the people of Gotham. They go their separate ways, allowing Batman to help recovery squads that are sent to help those who were injured by the sudden flooding. Now, I will not tolerate any Robert Pattison slander. My man has been on a road lately, from Tenant to the Lighthouse, now the Batman. He's just been straight up killing it. Although I must say, that's pretty ironic how the mayor's name is Bella and the Riddler's name is Edward. Not sure if Matt Reeves did that intentionally, but something that I just picked up on. Nonetheless, Rob did an amazing job as the Batman. What I love about his take on Bruce/Batman is his eyes. He doesn't even have to utter a word, but his eyes tell 1,000 words. A perfect example is when Bruce attends the mayor's funeral. He doesn't say much at all throughout the scene, but you can feel the emotion through his eyes. or when he's just interacting with the police and they'll try and make him feel unwanted, and he'll literally just give them death stare and they'll immediately shut up. Especially when he's going through the Riddler's house and this one cop shows up and tells him that he shouldn't be there, and you can see through his eyes that he's like,
"You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy."
Rob plays both alter egos perfectly, especially capturing the social awkwardness of Bruce. You can see through his eyes that he's been through hell and doesn't have time to fuck around. He just means business. I also love how this film showcases the intelligence of Batman as a detective. Yes, he's great in hand-to-hand combat in this film, but it's his brains that does most of the heavy lifting. Like for instance, his trips to the Iceberg Lounge. First, he goes in as Batman and fights his way through. The second time, he goes in as Bruce Wayne to avoid fighting once more. And the third time, he just straight up sneaks in as if he's playing Assassin's Creed. These are just a few examples on how strategic he is. His character arc as Bruce and Batman is neatly tied. From Bruce believing that his parents were innocent and that Gotham robbed him of a wholesome childhood. From that revelation, we also see Batman change. From the start, he is vengeful and strikes fear in the hearts of men. But when he realizes that fear brings forth and inspires more harm than good, he starts becoming a beacon of hope for the people of Gotham. From people distancing themselves from him at the beginning of the film, to them not wanting to let go of him by the end, it's truly an amazing arc. Although one of my greatest critiques with this Batman is his suit, and it's not about the design, but it's just how it feels as if like he's wearing vibranium. Because whenever the robbers or whoever is trying to shoot at him, he just walks towards them as if like he's the Man of Steel. So whenever he goes into conflict or in a crossfire, we don't necessarily feel as if he's in danger because his armor or suit is just straight up bulletproof. He's unharmed. So that's just one of my critiques because it kind of lowers the stakes a bit as Batman. Zoe Kravitz as Selina / Catwoman was the perfect casting choice. I mean, look at her. I just love how the writers understood her strengths and weaknesses. If it was one of those toxic feminist writers, she would have been a Mary Sue like almost every lead female character in recent years. She would have been stronger than Batman, smarter than him, lectured Batman on how much men are trash in society. She basically would have sidelined Batman in his own story. The first time she fights Batman, we can see that she can hang with him for a moment, but she's just not as stronger, faster, and smarter than him, hence giving him the winning edge. I just love how simple her character is. She doesn't have over-the-top equipment like Batman, so her costume is just a leather suit and a cheap mask, which grounds her character even more, showcasing to us that she's literally using the limited resources she has. I also love her character arc as well. At first, she's like, I'm all independent and I don't need anyone's help. But as the film progresses, we see her working with Batman to somewhat put a halt to this madness. She went from not wanting to work with Batman to her wanting Batman to leave Gotham with her. You know that modern Hollywood movies are messed up when a simple yet proper alliance between a woman and a man deserves a round of applause. She needs Batman as much as he needs her. They utilize each other's strengths and understand each other's weaknesses, which makes their chemistry even more compelling. She's definitely the best supporting act alongside Lieutenant Gordon. Paul Dano as the Riddler is perfect. The writers take his character serious, hence making him a little threat to society. He understands his strengths and weaknesses. He knows that physically he can't beat Batman, but mentally he can. Almost like Zemo from Civil War. The riddles he leaves for Batman were so engaging, especially if you played the Arkham series. You feel as if you are Batman yourself, trying to decipher what each riddle means. The heaviness and tension that comes with each riddle keeps you hooked as every detail matters. Although there are villains such as Penguin and Falcone throughout the film, but the Riddler's presence remains the strongest throughout, making him the main person to defeat. I love how his costume is simple yet jarring as well. He feels as if he's an actual real life person. He isn't over the top like Jim Carrey's rendition. He's calm, cool, and collected for the most part, and uses that to stay 2 steps ahead of Batman. One of the most scariest scenes is when Batman visits him at the state's hospital and he simply just says Bruce Wayne in a menacing manner. That shit was low-key scary, cause nobody knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, not even Lieutenant Gordon, and they've been working for 2 years straight. His delivery makes you believe that he knew all along, and now's the moment of truth. But I must say, when they unmasked the Riddler, he somewhat wasn't as terrifying like before. He started acting a bit like Lex Luthor from BVS with the quirkiness and hyperactive delivery. You can say that it's because Batman is his biggest inspiration, so he'd obviously geek out in his presence. But that somewhat removed the mystery and terror that came before. Even Batman looked at him as a dork, even though they're somewhat two sides of the same coin. But hey, that could just be me, but in overall, he is a compelling antagonist. With a budget of $200 million, the production is easily one of the strongest aspects of this film. The cinematography and editing is out of this world. It reminded me of 2019's Joker. It brought the dark and gloomy streets of Gotham to life. It's filmed with passion and motive. Every shot, frame, lens, etc. feels motivated. The reveal of the Batman before the chase is so bone-chilling. The upside down shot of Batman walking towards the Penguin like he's an actual bat is straight up iconic. Him busting through the ceiling in the final showdown is nerve-wracking, and him letting the mayor and the rest of the children out of the flooded arena with the red flare is just inspirational. The music score just brings an eerie vibe to the film. Feels like you're watching an actual thriller instead of your fully blown generic superhero film nowadays. And for some reason, I love how whenever Batman is walking, you feel the weight of each and every step. He doesn't even have to appear yet, but each step is gut-wrenching as he gets closer. You just feel the atmosphere thickening. But when he's Bruce Wayne, his steps are just normal like anyone else, showing the difference between the two alter egos. The wardrobe and makeup is also a standout, as it feels like an actual comic book film. Rob and Zoe literally look like Batman and Catwoman from the comics and the animations. Colin Ferrell as Penguin is unrecognizable. He looks and sounds different. You can tell that he was having fun with the character. Side note, I hope they do something grand with his character. Penguin literally feels and looks like he just came out of a Scorsese film. I'd really love if they took inspiration from The Godfather, Goodfellas, Scarface, and The Irishman to truly bring Penguin to life in the upcoming sequels, cause he has potential of being one of the greatest live action Batman villains if written properly. In conclusion, the Batman is a love letter to the fans. I loved how they didn't refer to him as Batman, as he's not quite established yet throughout this film. They called him Vengeance, as that's what he called himself and that's what he also personified. We got a director that was in full control of the vision, and with help from an elite cast and production crew, brought us so far the greatest live action detective inspired takes on the Batman. Now, it's unfair to compare this film to The Dark Knight only because it's just the debut and The Dark Knight is a sequel within the Nolan trilogy. If we're comparing the Batman to The Batman Begins, then we can make an argument. Nevertheless, I'm glad we got the opportunity to experience such a film that was shot during a pandemic, but you couldn't even tell. There's no such thing as a perfect film, but the Batman is damn near flawless. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, those are the reasons why I believe that the Batman is truly a thrilling classic.